In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, and this is the Washington football team preview show. We were off last week because I was in Disney World, and thank you guys for waiting and being patient with me. Came back to an absolute shit show with Sean Taylor's jersey retirement and the Kansas City Chiefs game in general, but we are back. We are talking about the Green Bay Packers. I'm here with K-Dot as always by my side. Appreciate it. And we've got part owner of the Green Bay Packers, Brendan Nichols, with us. Brendan, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Hello, District Divided audience. I'm Brendan Nichols. DC. I was born in Kansas City, but moved here when I was 2. So pretty much
gentrifier.
Yeah, gentrifier, exactly. And been a Packers fan my whole life, largely because my dad grew up during the Lombardi era, and he was a huge front runner. So even though he grew up in Bumfuckville, Missouri, cheered for the Packers. Put a little Brett Favre jersey on me when I was a 4-year-old. Been a pretty good ride ever since. I have to say I love my dad for many reasons, but maybe the single biggest reason I love him is saving me from the abject misery that is rooting for the Washington football team. It is truly a joy. I understand you guys don't really quite understand it, but not rooting for a morally objectionable team and a team that has consistent success, it's pretty nice.
You know, the wild thing is I can't necessarily refute, because my first reaction, jerk reaction, is like, why the fuck are we having this guy on? But given the shitstorm that we've had, he's got some points. So, but you know what? That aside, I want to get into the game because this is a preview show of just the week ahead. It's as simple as that. So that's right. We're not going to cover any of the email scandals. We're not going to cover John Gruden. We're not covering Bruce Allen, Dan Snyder, none of that. We are focused on the Green Bay Packers. That's why Brendan Nichols is here as well, to impart his wisdom. And so we are going to begin with the Green Bay Packers overview on how they've done so far this season. We jump into the injury report. This is as of Thursday. You're going to see this on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but the injury report is as of Thursday. Then we're going to get into each side of the ball. We're going to talk about the Washington football team offense against the Green Bay Packers defense, and then we're going to flip it. We're going to talk about the Washington football team defense against the Packers offense. We're going to conclude, of course, with our predictions for the game. So why don't we jump into it with the Green Bay Packers overview? And Brendan, before I get into any of the little stats about how Rodgers is doing, defense, Aaron Jones, etc., from the fan perspective, from the owner perspective, how is your team doing? Go ahead.
I give us a solid B+ on the season, and it's only a B+ because you're going to get to the injury report. It's not that it's massive. It's just that important people are in the injury report missing games. So to be 5-1 with having that litany of really crucial contributor injuries is really impressive. We haven't run a lot of games in impressive fashion. We only got the one loss was just like the Packers thought it was still preseason. They forgot it was, the preseason had been shrunk to 3 games. But other than that, we've been real competitive. Guys have been fighting hard. Contributions from the next man up bullshit has really been true. The defense, I think, is definitely on the right direction. And we're getting better. We're something like 6th in yards allowed, and like middle of the league in points. And we're missing so many key contributors. I mean, 2 of our top 3 players are injured on the defensive side. On the offensive side, we need the offensive line to get settled. Rodgers is being very efficient, but we're not going for big yards or big points. Running game has been excellent. I have to give credit to Jones and Dillon there. So yeah, solid B, B+. And it would be a B- or a C+ if it wasn't for all the injuries, but I'm giving a massive credit for overcoming those and still being able to pull a 5-1 record.
Okay,
through the first 6 weeks.
Fair enough. And again, like he said, the Green Bay Packers are 5-1 this season. They had the disappointing opener against the New Orleans Saints, but then they really turned it on since then, getting some nice wins. K-Dot, what are your thoughts on the Green Bay Packers before we get a little more into them in the nitty-gritties?
I think that with Green Bay, as looking through everything that they've gone this season, everybody chalks up that week 1 thing. It's just they were still playing their 4th preseason game, right? So in that the whole traveling to Florida bit, because you remember New Orleans couldn't play at home, it was just a mess. So that you kind of throw out. And if you look at what they've done the rest of this season, I mean, Detroit, San Fran, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Chicago. Chicago, Pittsburgh, 49ers don't look like we thought they would. In Detroit, as much as they play hard, nobody's thinking that they're all that great, right? So, I mean, we're yeah. Look, I like to give Detroit credit for playing really hard, and I still appreciate Dan Campbell crying in front of the media. I thought it was a good move. Real grit guy. So just looking at Green Bay, and you see where it is they are statistically. Like Brendan said, they're not doing the beat down sort of thing that you'd expect from Aaron Rodgers. Like, he's not throwing for 500 yards a game and like 5 touchdowns. Like you see, they're kind of middle of the pack as far as anything goes when it comes to rankings. What passing yards? They're 21st in the league. Rushing, they're 17th in the league. Like, those are not things that when you hear a team is 5-1, you'd expect them to be a little higher, especially with an Aaron Rodgers-led team. But they're getting the job done. They're just doing whatever it takes to win, which is something you also saw in that Chicago game. That run game, they just ran when necessary. Matt LaFleur is doing a great job calling these games where he's not putting the onus on one side of the ball a whole hell of a lot more than the other. But, I mean, they have had games rushing-wise that they haven't done phenomenally. I mean, they have no, as a matter of fact, they can look at it. Yeah, I'd say they're back. They've had good rushing games the entire year. I was looking at I actually looked at Washington's rush yards and got them confused at Green Bay for a second, and then I got sad. So, I mean, Green Bay's just doing what it takes to win. And as long as you got Aaron Rodgers back there, you know, with the weapons that he has at any given point in time, you can turn it on.
And so I wanted to quickly touch on just Aaron Rodgers, the reigning league MVP, who was spectacular last season. He got off to that slow start against the New Orleans Saints in Florida, a really freak situation overall. And since then, the Packers have been on fire. Now, is it their fault that they've beaten bad teams? No, they have to play the schedule that's in front of them. They played the Detroit Lions, the San Francisco 49ers, who are pretty good, but they're still going through their quarterback influx right there. The Pittsburgh Steelers with dead Ben Roethlisberger, who does not look the same as he used to in years past. Cincinnati Bengals, I'll give them credit there. That's an upstart squad with Joe Burrow. That was a big win. A lot of missed field goals. There were opportunities for both teams, but Mason Crosby got it done. And then the Chicago Bears with rookie Justin Fields. Point is, the Green Bay Packers found ways to win that game. But Brendan, I want to throw this to you. Reigning league MVP Aaron Rodgers, 12 touchdowns, passing touchdowns to just 3 interceptions, 2 more on the ground. That's basically a 5-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio there. What do you make of his performance so far? And then, do you think he's going to stay? Because I know that's also a pretty big topic as well, Brendan. What are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers this season?
Rodgers has been good, but not great. The deep ball has not been there yet so far. Part of that you can say is our personnel package with MVS being injured, but part of it is he's missed a few deep balls. Dealing with this makeshift offensive line, he's been excellent. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He never has. So overall, I'd give him a solid B. I mean, he's not MVP quality so far. He's Pro Bowl quality, not even All Pro, but solid. He's won us some games. I mean, like he himself has done things that have won us games. The Cincinnati game and the 49ers game, we won because he put us, at least in the 49ers position, one time to win. He put us in the position to win with throws about 4 times in the Cincinnati game. And it took Crosby a little while to get those kicks going. But he'll be back next year. I think it's more likely than not at this point. If you had asked me beginning of the season, I would have said no. But evidence is coming from Green Bay media and from Rodgers himself, saying comfortable here. Like after the Chicago game, he said, I don't feel this is my last time coming to Chicago. So, yeah, I'd say it's more likely than not, but still not much more likely than not, maybe 55-45, something like that.
Yeah, on the note of Rodgers potentially staying in Green Bay, I thought that was one of the most masterful press conferences I'd ever seen, is when he came back and basically threw the organization under the bus for the number of veteran players that he felt they lowballed. The reason I think that is because he changed the public perception completely. He was quiet the whole summer and changed the public perception to go, oh, I didn't think about it that way. So all of a sudden, it became a narrative of, if we were to let go of Rodgers, right? If we are the Packers front office, and after that incendiary press conference, we were to let go of Aaron Rodgers, for Jordan Love, who better be good at this point, who better be as good as Aaron Rodgers was, we've got ourselves a problem. And we were the ones that screwed up, not Aaron in this case. So I think Brendan, as a part owner, of course he's in the know, is correct. I do think Aaron is going to end up staying longer. I would personally love him here in DC. K-Dot and I were talking before this. We would love to have Aaron in DC. K-Dot, what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers so far this season? 5-1, again, we went through the list. Lions, 49ers, Steelers, Bengals, Bears is not particularly impressive, but they are 5-1, and they have beaten what's in front of them. What are your thoughts?
That's my thing, is they've been finding ways to win, right? So, like, the Cincinnati game is probably the most impressive, but then you put a huge asterisk on that with whatever happened with the goddamn kicking game at the end of that game. It was like, all right, let's just give this up as best we can. Like, I don't know how Cincinnati should have pulled that one out. They had ample opportunity to do so. It's just what it was. So, I mean, the big thing for me with Aaron this year is that for the first time in what feels like a long time, he's having fun. And you could see he's having fun. And I think that's the thing more than anything that's gotten him through. I know that I've gotten in trouble about my takes on Aaron Rodgers over the last couple of years, so I'm not going to speak in this hyperbole as I usually do. But I'm glad to see he's having fun. Now I have a entire conspiracy in my head that Aaron's going to end up in New England next year, and that Bill Belichick has got this whole thing figured out, which is why he's not really trying to coach right now and just surprise everybody in the offseason. But Aaron's having fun. And when Aaron's having fun, the league's on notice. And that's all you need to know, is that he was MVP last year. The dude can turn it on. In a league, in a place right now where Kansas City hasn't completely taken it over like we expected them to, Aaron's there. He's right there. He's in the conversation with the best of them. And he's playing like it. He doesn't need to throw 600 yards again. All he needs to do is do enough to win. And whether it be on the ground or through the air, he's been doing that.
And so far, exactly, based on their opponents so far, he hasn't had to do a whole lot, and he's done exactly what was required of him. Now, Green Bay at home, I'm going to say at home, they've played the Detroit Lions, they've played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and in both of those games, they only gave up 17 points per game. So if you want to go ahead and project for the Washington football team 17 points, be my guest, but it's going to be really, really hard for us to win with just 17 points, especially with the offense banged up. And with that, why don't we get into the injury report? So let's begin with the Washington football team. Again, this is through Thursday. So we have the Wednesday practice information and Thursday practice information. We are very likely going to be without two offensive linemen. Okay, we're talking about Sam Cosmi, rookie, who's been very good when he's been in the lineup. And we're talking about all-pro Brandon Scherff. That is a problem. So those are two guys that are very likely going to be missing because they did not practice Wednesday and did not practice Thursday. Then we've got Curtis Samuel and Cam Sims. Curtis Samuel, personally, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. He seems to keep re-aggravating the injury that he has. We may not even see him again this year. He certainly won't be there against Green Bay. And then we have Cam Sims. Both of them did not practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Thankfully, Antonio Gibson, who seemed like he was at risk to miss the game, logged a limited practice on Thursday. So we should be able to see him this Sunday. Now, flipping it to Green Bay, starting center Josh Meyers did not practice for the last 2 days, Wednesday, Thursday. Very likely he misses the game. That's big for our defensive line that continues to get right. And then Preston Smith, I'm sure many of you know who he is, former Washington football team draft pick himself, second rounder. He's been very good for Green Bay since they've signed him as a free agent. He has 2 sacks this season, but he also has not practiced in the last 2 days. So he may be missing the game as well. That is your injury report. There are still things that can evolve on Friday. Somebody can suddenly miss practice. Somebody can suddenly be a full participant. Who knows? But that's what we know so far. But now let's go to the Washington football team offense and the very questionable at this point Taylor Heinicke-led Washington football team offense against the Green Bay Packers defense. K-Dot, I want to begin with you. What do we need to see from this Washington football team offense in general and more specifically against the Green Bay Packers defense?
Consistency from the quarterback position, number one. But even with that comes caveats. We've talked about here on the podcast, you cannot play Taylor Heinicke with one arm tied behind his back. He is not a game manager. He is a baller. With that, you're going to take some risks when it comes to Taylor Heinicke, but you have to let him play. Now, the thing beyond that with Taylor that I think is going to be the biggest key to this game is running the ball. Chicago last week, who had all kinds of injuries at the running back position. Herbert, Hebert, whatever it is the name of that dude was, the tiny man, the Tariq Cohen 2.0 that went in there and just dominated. I mean, they scored. They had 140 yards on the ground against Green Bay. You can run on these guys if it comes down to it. And that's something that I think Washington has to make a focal point of, is running the ball. We need to have a well-balanced attack. Whether that means that we're running Antonio, who needs to make sure he's also – God, there's so many things. This team sucks sometimes. It's well-balanced as far – we need to run the ball. J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson, Jarrett Patterson, run, and take your shots when you can with Taylor. If you throw it up to Terry – more times than not, he's going to come down with it. We just need to put the pedal on the metal and just go as far as that being off. We need to set the tempo and not let them dictate what it is that we are supposed to do on offense.
I think that's a really good point, because when you look at Green Bay against the pass, they are 4th in the NFL in yards allowed through the air. And, we had the concern with the Buffalo Bills. They have Tre'Davious White as a lockdown cornerback against Terry McLaurin. Terry didn't have a great game. Here we have Jaire Alexander, who is proven as an elite, at least to me, an elite corner in this league. I would look for Ricky Seals-Jones. I would look for J.D. McKissick out of the backfield, but running the ball is the way to go, as K-Dot had mentioned, because they are 24th against the run, 4.5 yards per carry. This is how you're going to hurt them. Go ahead, K-Dot.
It's also running with Taylor. Run the ball. And I think with Taylor, a lot of the times when he can get out of the pocket and start moving around, he plays a lot more loose. We need to find ways to just run the football. If that's even what – they're not my favorite plays, but sometimes those end arounds that we've been doing with some of the wide receivers, whoever, get guys the ball and let's just run. Because if we can keep that pace, if we can average that 4.5, 5 yards a carry, we're going to be in this thing. It takes time off the clock and allows the defense to stay rested. You're not going to – the only thing you can hope to do with Aaron Rodgers is contain him, right? So that's where we're kind of at with it.
Yeah, and I mean, the Green Bay defense is averaging an interception per game. You want to limit the turnovers. That's the mantra of every single game. But if you could run and limit the number of attempts Heinicke has, and like you said, I guess I'm in two different directions here, but Heinicke had 0 attempts on the ground against the Kansas City Chiefs last week. It was the worst defense in the NFL. Maybe we're the worst, but they were right there with us. 13 points, not enough. Let him loose. We keep moving the goalposts with this guy. First, we need him to be conservative. Then he's conservative. Then you go, actually, we need him to be himself. Figure it out. That starts with Ron Rivera. That starts with Scott Turner. Figure the fuck out what you want of Taylor Heinicke and stop moving the posts. It's lazy, okay? This may be his last game as a starter. Let him do what the fuck he wants to do. And then we can always go back to Fitzpatrick if we need to, but let the guy be who he needs to be, because this is incredibly frustrating to see the coaches who know what he's capable of, continuously move the posts. Now, Brendan, I want to ask you, it's almost 3 questions. The first is, what do you think of Taylor Heinicke? Because, again, you guys have beaten Jared Goff. You've beaten Jimmy Garoppolo in a tight one. You've beaten Joe Burrow, good quarterback. It was a close game. You've beaten Justin Fields, and you've beaten dead Ben Roethlisberger. Where does Heinicke sort of rank amongst them? That's the first question. Then the second is your defense. What do you feel the strength is? What would you like to see the Washington football team do for success? And then how do you feel the Green Bay Packers can be successful against our offense? Floor is yours.
First, just Jaire Alexander, top 5 corner in the league, is injured. He's not playing. He's got an AC joint issue.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Go ahead.
So Heinicke. So I'd put him behind Burrow, behind Goff. Anybody else? Let's see. Yeah, I'm behind Goff. I'd put him right in the middle. I think Goff is terrible, but Goff has shown he can be a decent player. So if you want to switch him with Goff, but I definitely don't think he's as good as Garoppolo, who's not great, don't get me wrong, or Burrow, who is not great yet, but he's definitely on the trajectory to be great. And so in that 3 or 4 range, interchangeable with Goff. I mean, he's better. Ben Roethlisberger is horrific. Like it's sad to see. Like somebody tweeted, if you ordered a steak well done and they sent you something as cooked as Roethlisberger, you'd send it back. Like that is how done he is. So Big Ben in his prime, obviously, surefire Hall of Famer. Big Ben now, walking corpse. And the other ones, Justin Fields, he's a rookie. He had some flashes, but that's all you see from Fields. And I'm missing. And Jameis Winston. Who the fuck knows? Like seriously, who the fuck knows? So Heinicke, I think, solid in the middle of the pack for the quarterbacks we faced, which says honestly more about the quarterbacks we faced than Heinicke. I would say Heinicke is a top tier backup. I think that's what he is. I don't think he's a long-term starter. I think if you need him to come in and win you 5-6 games, keep you competitive for 5-6 games in a season, he can do that, and he's excellent. But a top-tier backup is where I think he is. Let's put it like this. I think he has a long future in the league because I think he's good enough to always have a roster spot, along with the fact that by all reports he's a great guy, super good work ethic, all that stuff. But that's where I feel he is. For the second, success against us. So you really need to run the ball effectively. As you said, like our pass defense, despite all the injuries, is playing somehow well. Again, those quarterbacks I listed, I think that has something to do with it. But nonetheless, the pass defense is playing well despite being without Jaire Alexander, one of the best corners in the league, and Za'Darius Smith, our top edge rusher. He's out indefinitely with a back injury. We'll probably be without Preston Smith, who's our number 2 edge rusher this game. Now, so you got to run the ball because that's where we've been got. It's one of those things where it's not like we're giving up 6-7 yards every play. It's like 1 yard, 1 yard, 1 yard, 2 yards, 30 yards. And we've been gashed like that a number of times. The other issues, we've been having some real struggles on third down. So if you guys can get some third down zone, like just easy, even third and long, like we too often go to easy zone coverage. So on third down, which is dumb. And then if the zone coverage works, if the pressure's there, but as we mentioned, all of our players who get pressure are injured.
I laughed on third down because we are the worst third down defense in the NFL. So I was like, don't talk to us about third down. But to Brendan's point, and I do formally apologize, I thought Jaire Alexander was on IR 3 weeks ago, meaning he was eligible this week. It was actually 2 weeks ago. So he does need to miss one more game. Thank the Lord. So that does open Terry McLaurin up. But to Brendan's point, because he's a fan, hey, the way you're going to do this, run the football. It is going to be a mix of Antonio Gibson, who I know is ailing, but it's going to be Jared Patterson. You got a big role this week. Guaranteed you are going to get some time. And J.D. McKissick, you got to keep balling the way you have been. You have actually been a bright spot on this team, and thank you for it. Please continue. Brendan, excellent points there. I really appreciate it. And also, Kenny Clark is currently probably the best rusher. He has 3 sacks on the season. What are your thoughts on Kenny Clark?
Clark's a monster. He's not Aaron Donald, but he's the next step down from him in terms of interior lineman. He should be a Pro Bowler at minimum. He is. Our defense goes as Kenny Clark does. When he plays elite, he both stuffs the run and even if he doesn't get a sack, collapses the pocket. Our defense plays well. When he doesn't get that pressure, it doesn't, or he doesn't get those run stuffing, it doesn't do that. When he's healthy, and he hasn't had like serious injuries, but nagging over the course of his career. But he's amazing. He should get the recognition he deserves. He's always like in the top 5 in Pro Football Focus's grades for interior linemen. He's awesome. I love him. He got a big contract last year. Deserved it.
Fair enough. Yeah, Kenny Clark is one of those dudes in the NFL. I feel like a lot of Green Bay Packers players, outside of Jaire Alexander, honestly, don't get the credit they deserve. Because you hear a lot about Aaron Rodgers. You hear a lot about Aaron Jones. You hear a lot about Devontae Adams. And let's get into that Green Bay offense here now against the Washington football team defense. But that defense for Green Bay, underrated. They are good. And Eric Stokes, the rookie, already has an interception. He has 7 passes deflected. He's a hell of a player. K-Dot, let's flip it back to you. What do you want to see from our defense? It was nice to see Chase Young get a sack last week. It was nice to see us actually get to him a little bit. Get to Patrick Mahomes. We only allowed 10 points in that first half. what do you need to see against the reigning league MVP? And more specifically, let's talk Davante Adams, man. I worry he could go for 250 against us.
Play competently. Play like you got a fucking brain. Play like you have some semblance of pride.
Maybe
Watching
tackle
defense. Yeah, how about we tackle people? Let's start there, right? So like on defense, there's this like I want to come to you with like these key points, like, hey, if anything, we've been pretty good against the run. Let's make sure we keep AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones, to keep them one-dimensional. But I'm like, I don't necessarily want them to be one-dimensional because Aaron Rodgers is going to throw bombs all goddamn day. So it's like, what do you do? So, yeah, of course, you want the pass rush to be there. We have enough talent. Maybe, as Brendan's been saying, on third down, they've had issues. If they can get the communication figured out in the secondary and get the pass rush to start blitzing there, because, I mean, I loved seeing in this Kansas City games every time they brought Jamin Davis or any one of the linebackers there to run with that front four. They were getting there. They were getting some pressure. So, like, that is a key. You heard Ron Rivera this week. He had the conversation with Landon Collins. He's going to play him close to the line. That's a good thing for us as a defense. No more of him getting beat over the top. I think the biggest thing that I want to see is our best cornerback right now is Benjamin St. Juste in my mind. And I haven't looked at PFF's rankings this week, which is a travesty, the amount of fucking money I pay for PFF. I should probably look at them every day. But Benjamin St. Juste has been doing a pretty good job. Like, usually when we've been watching these highlights, early on, St. Juste looked like he was a liability, as do young corners do. But William Jackson has been the biggest liability in that secondary, along with Landon Collins. I think Patrick Mahomes targeted Landon all freaking day last week, and he was winning on that.
So as much as I want to get to Brendan, and Brendan, I promise we'll get to you in just a moment, we got to talk about Landon Collins. We got to talk about him because he is, it's in his head. He's ingrained. He's a safety. It seems like his only hope at this point is to be a linebacker. Like, what is going on with Landon Collins, K-Dot?
It's not on him. It's this is where Ron Rivera is going to start getting shit now. And he deserves it. And even you look at some of the decisions he's making this week, it's shit the fan base has been saying since the beginning of the fucking season. And now he's finally getting around to making changes. Dustin Hopkins is gone. Even though I don't necessarily agree with the Hopkins kicking him off when they did. I don't even agree with it. I think that this is something that Ron Rivera is just trying to light a spark somehow or try to hold somebody accountable. We've been talking about the Landon Collins thing since last year. He has been a liability in coverage since last year. He had moments where he was shining, but it was usually around the line of scrimmage. He wasn't doing that roaming at free safety sort of crap that made him look special 6 years ago in New York. And I think that's the thing that Landon has, is that pride, which most NFL players do, which is that, hey, man, I'm playing this position. I played at a Pro Bowl level before. You're not going to switch me for the sake of switching me. And especially because I think that Landon Collins probably learned about all of that through Twitter over the summer, that he didn't appreciate it, and he fought back. And I get it to a certain degree. But if you're Ron Rivera and you're Jack Del Rio, with the history that you guys have, you should have it in you as the head coach to be able to sit Landon down and say, hey, bud, you're not playing up to snuff. We need to switch shit out. Which still goes back to, I think, the worst decision that this team did was letting Jeremy Reeves walk off the 53-man roster when Reeves and Curl looked like a tandem at safety that was going to potentially do something. And that's what we have to figure out. Who's going to play with Cam Curl at safety and make this thing work? Whether or not that means getting Jackson back there or getting Fuller back there, we need to figure that out.
It's a tremendous question, and hopefully we get some clarity on it, and fast, because, again, we're going against the reigning league MVP and Aaron Rodgers. Brendan, it is now your time. Question for you, which is, aside from, by the way, Washington football team's run defense only allowing 4 yards per carry, that's amongst the tops in the league, so not bad there. But as a Packers fan, you've got to be licking your chops with Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, the weapons he has, Alan Lazard. I know MVS is on IR right now, but Tunyon. Jones, they've been using a lot as a receiver. We are the only team, the Washington football team are the only team allowing north of 300 passing yards per game. What are your thoughts on this matchup, the Green Bay offense against the Washington football team defense?
So I think MVS is eligible to come off IR this week. I don't know if he'll be back, but I think he is.
It doesn't. I'm not sure that he's going to, though.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. So I think it's a great matchup. I honestly think that Davante Adams will be able to do literally anything he wants against you guys. He can go high step up and down the field if he wants to. I just don't against good defenses, you can't do anything to stop him. Against double coverage, against defenses where I don't know your secondary other than Landon Collins, and I only know him because I know he's been playing so poorly in coverage and because of his New York time. It's it seems like it's easy. I'm stunned. Your defensive line isn't generating more pressure, but I think we're going to be able to do pretty much whatever we want on defense. I don't think it's going to be like a shootout type of game. Packers are not playing a sprint up and down the field style of offense right now. We're slow, methodical, 10 to 15 play drives, score a touchdown, maybe a field goal over and over and over again. But I genuinely think we're going to be able to do pretty much whatever we want against you. It's just I don't think the number of possessions will be enough to score. Your defense is dreadful. I don't know what other to say than they've been playing like shit and they've looked like shit and the numbers back it up.
We're essentially the league's worst at this point, which is unbelievable considering the expectations we rolled into this season with our defense. So when Heinicke was playing as well as he did in the first 3 games, we're thinking, okay, we can actually do something. But as it turns out, our defense is fucking god awful and cannot figure itself out. So, Brendan, it seems that you think you guys can do whatever you want. So is your bigger concern on the defensive side of the ball or offensive? It seems like it's going to just be comfortable for Green Bay.
So I think we win this game comfortably, but I'm more concerned about you running the ball down our throat and us having too few possessions. I'm also concerned with the makeshift offensive line. They played well. Don't get me wrong. They really have without Bakhtiari, and now, as you mentioned, Meyers is out. But they played well, but I'm never comfortable with them going into a game. I'm always, crossing my fingers. Don't let Aaron Rodgers get killed. Don't let Aaron Rodgers get killed. And so even as poorly as they played, you still have Sweat and Chase Young. So that if I'm concerned about anything on offense, it's that Elton Jenkins, who's just come back off injury and is playing left tackle when Bakhtiari gets healthy, and Billy Turner over on the right side struggle. But if that has happened in a few games so far this season, where the first couple series, Rodgers is just getting blitzed, LaFleur has responded every time with lots of packages to get chips on those guys and to allow Rodgers to get the ball out of his hand quickly. Either that or to run the ball down their throat to get the pass rush slowed down.
You got
to on offense. Yeah.
I was just gonna say you gotta love good coaching because it seems like we've been pretty removed from that. Like you said, I love the idea that like, hey, if someone's getting to Rodgers, let's just chip him a little bit. Yeah. Seems like a very novel concept to the to coaching staff here in DC, but hopefully we get it right. Let's move on to game predictions here. So according to Bovada, Green Bay is an 8-point favorite. The over-under is at 48.5. We will allow our guests to go first. Our part owner of the Green Bay Packers, Brendan Nichols. What is your prediction for this game? I want a score. You said the Packers win comfortably, so I assume the Packers win. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
I think it's 27-17 with 17 points we've allowed at the home. So I take the under 2. Packers just aren't playing at a fast enough fast enough pace to score a huge amount of points unless the only way I can see us getting there is if like Devontae Adams on some like mid-range passes, you guys forget how to tackle and don't cover, which is very possible. And he just takes some things that should be a 15-yard game to the house. But I just don't see it going over 48 points, but I do see us covering the spread.
Okay, 27-17. It goes under, but the Packers cover according to Brendan. K-Dot, the floor is yours. What is your score and winner, please?
Yeah, this feels a lot like what I'm thinking Green Bay and that Detroit game's look like, right? Like I think we're waiting for Washington's defense to wake up, but it feels after the Kansas City game, Washington's just this feels like Aaron Rodgers gets to tell everybody who's putting him number 8 in the power rankings, hey bitches, I'm still here. I think this is I'm looking at 35-21. I'm saying I got Green Bay winning this going away. I think Washington starts licking their chops to maybe have an all right game against Denver to go into the bye week.
I've got 34-20 Green Bay. I think we I look at Ben
I'm the most
Roethlisberger.
conservative.
Unbelievably, right? Maybe
Yeah,
that just
yeah.
tells you the state of our fan base. But
Yeah.
I've also got a 14-point margin for Green Bay. We all have Green Bay covering. The thing about this defense is that through 6 games, I think that's enough to tell you who we are. It's not like we're missing anyone. They're all there. There's just a disconnect. And sort of just shows how important it is to find that quarterback of the future, right? Because we sort of went, hey, let's build the team around this defense. We're going to get all the other pieces right, and then we could just drop a quarterback in there. That's not how it works. We had one of the best defenses last year. It doesn't seem to be one of the best ones here, right? I mean, it's one of the worst right now statistically. It is just very, very difficult to see a defense consistently perform. And that's the problem we're running into. I've got the Packers 34, comfortable at home on offense. And I've got the Washington football team with 20 points. Any final thoughts? Oh, my gosh. Any final thoughts before we finish up? Any prop bets you like? Anything like that?
No
Brendan,
prop
no?
bets or anything, but I do want to make sure that everybody is reminded that Vince Lombardi made sure he walked away from that shitty organization and gave his life for the Washington football team.
Yeah.
That's all you need to
You
know.
killed Vince Lombardi.
We did not kill him.
killed
He
Vince
worked
Lombardi.
hard, and he knew he had to sacrifice, and that's what he did for the Washington football team. We appreciate you, Vince. You're one of the greatest coaches ever, and we know you wanted nothing to do with Green Bay anymore. You wanted to come here to DC.
For that don't know, Vince Lombardi coached 1, maybe 2. I think it was just 1 year with the Washington football team before passing away. Rest in peace, Vince Lombardi.
Gave his life for the organization.
Gave his life for the organization.
Yes.
This right here is District Divided. This is the Washington football team preview show. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Amit. That is K-Dot. That is Brendan. Brendan, thank you so much for joining us this week and giving us the insight into the team you own, the Green Bay Packers, and how we expect them to do this coming Sunday. Any final thoughts? Any final plugs you'd like? Are we following you on Instagram, or are you just going, hey, you know what?
No.
This is who I am, and I'll see you next year.
I'll see you next year for the rematch. I don't do social media. It's the devil. Yeah,
Perfect.
that's it.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Did we lose him? We lost him. We lost him as he's plugging himself. That is Brendan Nichols once again. But thank you so much for listening. That is K-Dot, Brendan, myself. I'm Amit. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week. We do this every Friday at 2 p.m. and Brendan's coming in and out. We'll see you guys later.